The light is red, and that means we are live here on SML TV. Let me just get myself situated, as is my custom. You know how I do it. As soon as I press that record button, I just need to know I'm clear. For goodness sake. Okay. Just get my lighting right here. You know, you got to do everything by yourself. Okay, I know it's a bit dim, but it's okay. We'll be okay. We'll be fine. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to spend a few moments with me here on SML TV. It has been an event-filled day. OMG, honey, do I have to tell you? Do I have to tell you? Do I have to tell you? The answer is a huge, resounding yes. First of all, I need to let you guys know today, I heard on the wireless, because that's what we used to call it when we were kids. I heard on the wireless that Sean Tembo was going to be a guest over there at Millennium Radio. And guess what I did? I literally went over there. I drove over there to confront him and ask him a very pertinent question. A question that he has been dodging for months. A question that he's been ignoring for months. A question that he's been sidestepping for a very long time. And the question is, why did he defraud the Botswanan government? And this is all over the internet. I mean, it's not something that I just came up with. I mean, Sean Tembo was embroiled in some type of fraudulent activity over there in Botswana. And being Sean Tembo, first of all, let's begin from the point where he was informed by his driver that I was outside. Okay, it was just me and my driver and I. It was just the two of us. I drove over to Millennium. This was in Olympia area. The driver says to Sean, there are a bunch of UPND cutters outside, which wasn't true at all. It was just my driver and I. And then Sean Tembo, being this is the other thing I find interesting about him, is that he embellishes a lot. In a sense, he lies a lot. I mean, he literally just bold-faced lie right there on live television on his channel, on Millennium Radio. He said, oh, there are a bunch of UPND cadres outside. The cadres are here to harm us, which is completely untrue. I was just there to ask him a question that he's been avoiding for months. It had nothing to, there was no sense of danger. The only thing the Millennium Radio people asked me to do, which I agree with, because that's private property, okay? They said to me, Mr. Mwewa, and they were very nice about it. I mean, Millennium, there's a young lady over there. Her name is, tell me now. Tell me in the comments. What's her name? Oh, I forget her name now, but very nice lady there. She said to me, Mr. Mwewa, could you do us the honor of just standing outside of our fence so that our guests don't feel that we planned this? I said, sure. I said, no problem. So I stood outside. I waited for Sean. Sean, in his usual way of augmenting, of lying, of aggrandizing, he said, oh, there are a bunch of UPND cadres out there, and they're about to kill us. And then he addresses the head of state. He says, Mr. President, I'm asking you to call your dogs off. He didn't say dogs, but he meant the same. He said, Mr. President, you need to tell the cadres to leave us alone. He said, Inspector General, you need to send some police officers down here because there's some cadres that are about to kill us. And Mr. IG, Inspector General, if anything happens today, if anyone is hurt today, the blood of their hands, I mean, their blood is on your hands. That was a low-key threat. For those of you, some of you picked it up. That was Sean Tembo saying, I'm going to shoot that guy between the eyes. And I tell you what, if I do, I'm going to say I was trying to defend myself. I mean, that's what I mean. Sean being an ex-police officer, I wouldn't put it past Sean to pull out a gun and shoot me between the eyes, because that's what he was saying. He was saying, if something happens by IG, the blood is on your hands. That was a low-key threat. Anyway, so here it is, I'm waiting outside, and honestly, really, this was what I was planning to do. And I really thought he was going to stop. I was just going to say, Sean, there have been multiple reports that you embezzled the government of Botswana. Why? His answer should have been an answer. But instead, he drove past me in a hurry, and he did everything within his power to avoid me, to avoid the question altogether. Now, here's my question to you, and I want you to answer this, because, we're living in the dispensation of real politics, okay? Real politics. Here's my question. Should presidents be asked tough questions as they aspire to occupy the highest office in the land? You tell me in the comments if this is a fair question. Take any country in the world. It doesn't matter if it's Colombia. It doesn't matter if it's Haiti. It doesn't matter if it's Ethiopia. Wherever. Any country that has a democratic system, should the presidential aspirants, should presidents be asked tough questions as they aspire to occupy the highest office in the land? Well, the answer should be yes. Absolutely. You know why? Because a leader should be held to a higher standard. Number one. Number two, we have to have an insight into the character of that leader. Guys, I want to bring something up to you that not many people talk about because it's past. Okay? It's past. P-A-S-T. Past. Okay? It's in the past. Remember, do you remember this? Remember when people said President Lungu had swindled a widow out of her money? Remember that? Now, let me provide some context. As you know, President Lungu served as president after Michael Sata died. We had a sitting president who died while in office. And then there was a leadership vacuum. There was a leadership vacuum. As soon as Vasata passed away, he died. There was a bit of confusion within the PF party. People didn't know who was going to take over from Vasata. And then all of a sudden, this ram in the bush appeared in the bush in the name of President Lungu, a very unsuspecting candidate, someone that nobody even thought about, and all of a sudden, the whole nation was nostalgic to the point that we all rallied behind this one candidate. His name was, and still is, Mr. Edgar Lungu. But you see, at that time, there was this rumor, there was this talk that while he was a lawyer, the rumor was that he had swindled a widow out of her money. Now, under normal circumstances, journalists should ask these tough questions so that the candidate can explain, can expound. The candidate can give a retort, a response. If a journalist, a brave journalist in those days, of course, back then when PF was in power, PF cadres would kill you for even asking this question. But in a normal functioning democracy, it is the tough questions that need to be asked, especially for people that want to be president. Nobody ever asked President Lungu this question. Nobody. Therefore, we don't know what his explanation would have been. President Lungu should have answered and should have dealt with this question. Mr. President, is it true that you swindled a widow out of her money? It's not a simple yes or no answer. There's an explanation. Of course, he would say it in his defense, but at least explain it. You are confronted and you explain. Your explanation, if not satisfactory, raises flags. I want that to sink in for a moment. I need that to sizzle in your spirit. Your explanation, if not satisfactory, will raise red flags. That's what's supposed to happen. The electorate is supposed to have an insight into your character. If you've got the character of a thief, then you don't have to be president. If you've got a questionable character of some type of skullduggerer, then you don't need to be president. Why? Because a leader, while not perfect, is still held to a higher standard. Of course, come on, guys. It goes without saying, there is no such thing as a perfect person. But a leader should be held to a higher standard. It's like, for example, you need to have open heart surgery. And you're on the operating table. And the surgeon starts to talk to you. And you start to chitty chat with the surgeon. And you start to ask the surgeon, so how long have you been doing this? Wouldn't you be concerned if the surgeon said, oh, I've never done it. I'm just doing it now. You know, I mean, I've had a few lessons here and there. But we'll see how it goes. Would that build confidence? Would that build? It wouldn't. It wouldn't build confidence. It would make you very scared. The same applies to leaders. We need tried and tested leaders. Leaders that stand there and are asked tough questions and they answer the question convincingly. Even if their answer is not so good. But as long as they answer it, and then we judge the character. We say, your answer more question mark. No manga yon saying pusha wabutuka. Wabutuka. I mean, imagine for a moment if an American presidential candidate runs away from a journalist or runs away from someone that wants to ask him a question. Do you know what the American people would say? Well, honey, if you can't handle the heat, get out the kitchen. That's exactly what the American people would say. They'd say, if you can't take a tough question, how in the hell are you going to lead this nation? The same applies. I mean, here it is. I asked Sean Tembo the question. He did not want to answer. He did not want to respond. Sean Tembo has repeatedly avoided the question. He doesn't want to deal with the question. Why did he defraud the government of Botswana? He doesn't want to, and he doesn't want to deal with it. And as long as he doesn't want to deal with it, such a person should be nowhere near the ballot, nowhere near State House. Lastly, let me say, Sean Tembo, let me ask you this. What is the mark of a great manipulator? Tell me. A great manipulator is one that does something in order to deflect attention from the main issue and starts to talk about something else. Sean Tembo's been posting this picture, this silly amateur cartoon picture that has my face on it. Sean, the Zambian people demand to know why you defrauded the government of Botswana. The Zambian people are not interested in those cartoons. Imagine for a moment during a presidential debate, the moderator asks Sean Tembo a question. And then in response, Sean Tembo holds up a picture of my face and that little cartoon. What do you think the Zambian people would say about him? The Zambian people would say, Iwe Sean, we are not interested in that face. Answer the question. If we want to know if you're a president asuka ama-question ngachitambala aingira moshani. That's what the moderator would do. So you have to understand that a master manipulator, Sean Tembo, loves to post that silly photograph. He loves it. But the Zambian people are not interested in that. They're not. They're interested to know, if you put your name forward for president, do you have the character? Do you have the integrity? Do you have the capability? Do you have the wherewithal? Do you have the dexterity to perform as president of the great Republic of Zambia? We're not interested in diapers. We're not interested in photographs. We want to know, can you do the job? Do you have the character? Do you have the personal integrity to do that job? If the answer is no, then step aside, step aside, step aside, step aside. In the words of Beyonce, to the left, to the left, to the left, honey, to the left. Let's talk about someone else. All right. Boom. All right, guys, if you want to call me, you can call me. Let me just read a couple of your comments here. Here it is. This is Kathy. Kathy says he was running to go and buy a calculator for a calculator. And this is what I find interesting, is that Sean Tembo demands answers from the head of state. But when questions are asked of him, he avoids them. He avoids them. Now, remember, President Hakainde Hichilema multiple times was asked about privatization. He answered that question maybe 30,000 different ways. It always came up. It always came up. The issue of privatization always came up, but he always addressed it. Imagine for a moment if President Hakainde Hichilema was running for office and he was asked that question, and each time he was asked, he would run. Do you think he's the type of person that I would want to represent me as a president? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Aaron says, I like your views on these so-called political leaders. Oh yeah, we're going to hold you to a higher standard. And the Zambian people should do that. Guys, don't pay attention. And I was saying to the owner of Mwebantu Facebook page, he's a young boy by the name of Musonda. I've known Musonda since he was a little boy. You know, his father and I are friends. And I wrote him, he's the guy that runs Mwebantu page. He ran that picture and he posted, he said, this is a trending picture. It's not trending. Give the people what's really on the ground. And guys, this is the thing. Hold our leaders to a higher standard. Mwebantu has a great responsibility to ask tough questions. But there's Mwebantu page, the biggest Facebook page in the whole country, playing patty cake, baker man. Mwebantu, the biggest Facebook page in the whole country, is fooling around. Instead of using that power to drive the point home that our leaders need to be held to a higher standard, a higher level of accountability. But there's Mwebantu fooling around. And I must tell you, Musonda, I'm very disappointed in you. And I will tell your father about this. I'll have a chat with your dad about this. I will. All righty. One more. Somebody says Kathy says he was scared of speaking English. No, I don't think he was scared of speaking English. He was just simply avoiding the question. But here's the thing. And guys, I want to put everybody on red alert. Sean Tembo, you got away from me, but you will never get away from journalists. You'll never get away from the public. You can run from me, but you can't hide from them. You can run from SML TV, but you can't run from a journalist that's going to stand in front of you toe to toe, eyeball to eyeball, and ask you that all elusive, that all encompassing question, Sean Tembo, why did you defraud the government of Botswana? At one point, you're going to be part of a presidential debate panel. It's coming. As long as you want to be president, these are the things, Sean, that you cannot avoid. You can avoid me, but you can't avoid them. One day you will be on the panel of a presidential debate. And guess what? Somebody's going to ask you that question. Are you going to run? Where are you going to run to, Sean? Where are you going to go, brother? You can run, but you can't hide. See, that's the price you pay for wanting to be a president. You have to be scrutinized. You have to be examined and re-examined. We have to see if the blemishes you have are blemishes we can live with or blemishes that we choose not to live with. All right. Do you guys want to call me? You can. Do we have time for that? Do we have time for calls? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we do. And guys, let me also say, there's nothing about childishness here. That's just an attempt by Sean to deflect attention from the main issue. There's no child here. Everybody here is grown. Everybody here has responsibilities. The only thing we want is we want our questions answered. That's all. And Zambians, we as Zambians, we are very weak in this area. Zambians are easily misled. Sean Tembo will post something and all of a sudden, instead of talking about the real issue, you're talking about something else. Don't lose focus. There is no child here. We're all adults. Every last one of us are adults. You calling somebody else a child doesn't change the fact that there are questions that beg answers. Ooh, that's good. That's a good one. Let me repeat that. You calling another grown man a child when he's not a child, when he's a grown man, does not deflect or does not take away from the fact that people want tough answers to tough questions. It doesn't change that. It doesn't change the fact that the questions beg an answer. And it's coming. Whether you like it or not, Sean, it's coming. It's coming. It is. Yeah. All righty. So, guys, if you want to call me, let me see if I can set this up. I'm going to take 2 phone calls, only 2, only because the time is gone. Connections, Bluetooth. I've got my Rodecaster Pro up in here. Rodecaster Pro. Boom, connected, I think. Hold on one second. Call me on WhatsApp. Connected for calls. So if you want to call me, you have to call me here and call me only on WhatsApp. Okay? Only on WhatsApp. Give me a call. I'll take 2 phone calls only on WhatsApp, guys. That's my number. Oh, is the number there? We got to make sure the number's there, honey. Because if the number ain't there, the number ain't there. Boom. Sorry. Okay, it's open now. The number's open now. The number's just give me, there it is. It's open now. So that's my number. Give me a call on that number there. I'll take 2 phone calls, only 2 because of time. And then we'll get the show on the road. So here's the question. Here's the question. Okay, should presidents be asked tough questions as they aspire to occupy the highest office in the land? That's the question. And that's what we must all be grappling with. None of us should be talking about, diapers and children. No, there are no children here. Everybody is an adult here, okay? Are you calling? Let me throw up some... Mr. Muewa, that Sean Tembo is not normal. He is not qualified to lead this nation. That's why he ran away. He knew that you will ask him that question of swindling the Botswanan government. And if that's the case, then he shouldn't be running for president. Christopher says, I hope Sean will call you and answer. How? He ran away from me. So how's he going to now call me? What, now he calls me? No, he's not. Okay. This is Sabrina. Sabrina says he should just answer the question. Okay. It's not so much to ask after all. Okay. Well, hey guys, none of you are calling. So thank you so much for participating. Thank you for watching. God bless. Good